The tribute ground was where the unwanted were offered to the monster. And as Vera stood among the trembling women brought from every corner of Valdris, she alone did not weep. A cloth had been wrapped around her mouth, covering everything from nose to chin, bound so tightly she could barely breathe. They called it a silencing veil. She called it a muzzle. The other tributes didn't understand why she'd been gagged when her crime was not screaming but speaking. They didn't know what lived on her tongue. For 300 years, the creature called Kelric had ruled the frozen territory of Thirvald. No alpha had tamed him, no army had conquered him. No woman offered as tribute had survived longer than a single moon. He was not a king, he was a nightmare given flesh. Vera was never meant to survive this. Her father had made that clear. She was meant to die in the frozen wasteland, her shameful bloodline finally extinguished. But when the monster emerged from the blizzard, when his pale eyes swept across the line of offerings, something happened that no one expected. Vera looked at him, and she knew his name. Not the name the histories recorded, his true name, the one buried for centuries. When she spoke it through the cloth, muffled but unmistakable, the beast went utterly still. Then he walked toward her, and every soul present stopped breathing. Neither of them understood what speaking his true name would cost them both. The women had been arranged in a line on the frozen platform like lambs before slaughter. 17 tributes from 12 kingdoms, all deemed expendable enough to feed to the northern beast. Some wept openly, tears crystallizing on their cheeks. Others stood rigid with terror. Vera stood at the end of the line, separated from the others by 3 armed men. The silencing veil bit into her cheeks, the fabric thick enough to muffle any sound. "That one," a tribute whispered. "Why is she gagged?" "Name speaker," the guard growled, tongue-bound by order of Lord Mordrin himself. "She speaks, you die." The women shrank back. Vera kept her eyes forward, watching the tree line where darkness pooled. Her father stood near the delegation from Valdris, dressed in furs that cost more than most families earned in a lifetime. Beside him, her half-sister Lysanne clutched his arm, beautiful face pale with cold and something that might have been guilt. The tribute master stepped forward. "We gather to honor the ancient pact between the southern kingdoms and the Lord of Thirvald. 17 souls offered in tribute." The wind shifted. Every torch guttered simultaneously, flames bending as if bowing. The temperature plummeted. Vera felt ice forming on her eyelashes. The beast was coming. She sensed him before she saw him, a pressure against her mind, ancient and vast and burning cold. 2 tributes collapsed. 3 began screaming. Then he emerged from the blizzard. Kelric of Thirvald was not what the stories described. The tales spoke of a monster, twisted and grotesque. But the figure that walked out of the swirling snow was devastatingly beautiful. Tall beyond reason, with hair the color of fresh frost falling past his shoulders. His features were sharp as broken glass, cheekbones that could cut, a jaw carved from winter itself, and his eyes, pale blue, nearly white, and empty of anything resembling mercy. He wore no furs despite the cold. Rime clung to him like a lover, patterns spreading across his bare forearms, melting and reforming with each step. This was winter given consciousness and hunger. The tribute master's voice cracked. "Lord Kelric, we present—" Silence. One word, and the man's jaw snapped shut. The beast moved toward the platform, his gaze sweeping across the women, dismissing them one by one. Then his attention snagged on Vera. She felt it like a physical touch, those pale eyes fixing on her with sudden, absolute focus. He'd noticed the veil, the guards, the way she stood apart. He stopped directly in front of her. This close, she could see the rime on his lashes, the faint blue tinge to his lips. He smelled of pine and snow and something darker underneath. "Why is this one bound?" His voice was low, rough. "She's dangerous, my lord." Her father stepped forward. "A name speaker. I offer her with the warning that she should not be permitted to—" "I wasn't asking you." Lord Mordrin retreated. Those winter eyes returned to Vera. She should have been terrified. Every instinct screamed at her to submit. But something else was rising in her chest. The name. It was there, pressing against her teeth, fighting to escape. She'd never felt one this strongly. Usually, true names came in whispers. But his was a roar, a blizzard, a force threatening to tear through the veil by sheer will. Kelric tilted his head. You know something. What do you know, little wolf? She shouldn't. The binding would trigger. The pain would be unimaginable. But the name demanded release. She spoke. The word tore through the veil like flame through paper. Not Kelric. That was the name history remembered. She spoke the name beneath it. Verathine. The beast went absolutely still. Behind her, someone screamed. The silencing veil burned against her skin, and Vera nearly collapsed from the agony. But she kept her eyes on his face, watching something fracture in that frozen expression. Shock, recognition, fear. Where, he breathed, did you learn that name? Darkness crowded her vision, but before she could fall, cold hands caught her face. I'll take this one, he announced. The crowd erupted. Her father shouted about danger, about crimes. The tribute master protested that protocol required. I said I'll take this one. Does anyone wish to challenge me? Silence. Verathane looked down at Vera, at the burns forming around her mouth, at the defiance still burning in her eyes. You spoke my true name, he murmured. Do you understand what that means? She shook her head weakly. Neither do I, but we're going to find out. He lifted her and walked back into the blizzard. The beast had chosen, and he had chosen her. Vera woke to warmth. That alone convinced her she was dead. The beast's territory was supposedly a frozen wasteland where tributes perished within days. But the furs beneath her were soft. The fire crackling nearby was real, and the silencing veil was gone. Her skin felt tender and new, as if someone had healed the burns. She sat up slowly. A chamber carved from dark stone, surprisingly large, with pelts covering every surface. And everywhere, on the walls, the ceiling, rhyme patterns spread like living art. You're awake. Vera's heart slammed against her ribs. Kelric stood by the window, silhouetted against gray light. Where am I? My home. You've been unconscious for 2 days. The binding magic nearly killed you. She touched her throat. The veil. Who removed it? I did. The enchantment was designed to punish speech. I destroyed it. Why? He crossed the room, settling into a chair across from her. This close, she could see the faint blue veins beneath his pale skin. Because I want answers. My true name. No one has spoken it in 300 years. The witch who gave it to me is dead. The texts were burned. His jaw tightened. How did you know it? Vera's hands twisted in the furs. I don't know how. I've never known. The names just come to me. True names. Hidden names. I look at someone and I know what they're called beneath all the masks. Name speaker, he murmured. I thought your kind were extinct. Nearly. When my ability manifested, my father had me bound. Any name I spoke would trigger punishment. She touched her jaw. He told everyone I was cursed, that I'd used my power to kill someone. Did you? No. Her voice shook. I spoke a man's name. He was hurting a child, and his name was right there, and I... She stopped, breathed. He died. I don't know how. My father finally had his excuse to be rid of me. Silence stretched between them. Your father sent you here to die, Kelric said. Yes. Because you're a name speaker. Because I'm a reminder of my mother. She had the gift. When he discovered it, he had her executed. But I inherited her power, and every time he looked at me, he saw her. Kelric studied her for a long moment. I'm going to make you an offer. You may refuse, in which case, I'll return you to the tribute ground. What offer? Stay here, as my consort. In exchange for allowing me to study your power, you'll receive protection, comfort, and freedom to speak as you wish. No more bindings. His eyes held hers. No one will ever silence you again. What's the price? Approval glinted in his expression. You will not speak my true name again. Not to anyone. What you know stays buried between us. Why? Because names have power, and mine, in the wrong mouth, could destroy me. Vera absorbed this. And if I agree? You said consort. Does that mean we will not share a life? You'll have your own chambers. I will not touch you without permission. I don't want a wife. I want a mystery to solve. Cold over cruelty, Vera thought. He was offering safety without passion, protection without risk. After a lifetime of her father's hatred, cold sounded like mercy. One condition, she said. The true name I spoke. Verathine. Is that what you want me to call you? Raw emotion flashed through his eyes. Pain, longing, then vanished. The other one. Always, the other one. Kelric, then. I accept your terms. She extended her hand. His closed around hers, and she gasped. His skin was genuine ice. But beneath that cold, buried deep, was a flicker of warmth. Faint as a dying ember. Kelric released her quickly. Rest. Tomorrow, we begin. He left without looking back. Vera sat alone, her hand still tingling. She'd chosen the beast. Now she had to survive him. 3 days later, Vera stood in the great hall of Thierwald's fortress, dressed in silver furs and trembling. The bonding ceremony had been arranged with brutal efficiency. Representatives had traveled through blizzards to witness the impossible. The monster of the north taking a mate. Not a mate, Vera reminded herself. An arrangement. But the crowd didn't know that. Whispers raced through the hall. She must have bewitched him. He'll devour her within a moon. Kelric stood beside her on the raised dais, magnificent in formal black. His expression revealed nothing, but his hands were clenched at his sides, rhyme spreading across his sleeves. He was tense. Why? The officiant began the ceremonial words, but movement caught Vera's attention. Her father had arrived. Lord Mordrin swept through the crowd with Lysen at his side. His face was a mask of diplomatic courtesy, but Vera knew that expression. Calculated, waiting. The terms of this bond must be spoken, the officiant intoned. Kelric stepped forward. This woman will be my consort in name. She will receive my protection and the authority of my house. In exchange, she gives me her presence when required, and her loyalty until our arrangement concludes. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. That wasn't a traditional bonding vow. My lord. Her father's voice cut through the whispers. Before this bond is sealed, I must register my formal protest. The hall went silent. Kelric turned slowly. Your protest is noted. And denied. You don't understand what you're bonding yourself to. This woman is a tongue-bound criminal. She used her power to kill. I'm aware of her history. Then you know she's dangerous. If you allow her to speak freely, she could... Could what? Kill me? Kelric descended the dais steps slowly. She already knows my true name. She spoke it on the tribute ground. If she wanted me dead, I would be. The color drained from Mordrin's face. I find myself wondering, Lord Mordrin, why you're so determined to silence her. What are you afraid she might say? Mordrin stumbled backward. This woman is my consort, Kelric announced to the hall. Any insult to her is an insult to me. Her past is erased. Her crimes are pardoned. He extended his hand toward Vera. She took it and descended to stand beside him. You didn't have to do that, she murmured. I know. Then why? Something shifted in his gaze. Because I know what it's like to have family want you dead. The ceremony concluded. Representatives offered hollow congratulations. Then Lysen appeared at Vera's elbow. We need to speak. Privately. They found an alcove behind a pillar of ice. You have to leave, Lysen said immediately. Father isn't done. If the beast didn't reject you at the ceremony, there's another plan. What plan? I don't know details. But I heard him talking about what happens when the beast discovers what you really are. He knows I'm a name speaker. Not that. Li Sen grabbed her arm. The other thing. The thing father never told you about mother. Vera's heart stuttered. What about mother? Li Sen's face contorted with something between pity and horror. You don't just speak true names. That's not all you inherited. She glanced over her shoulder. There's no time. Just know that when he learns what you truly are, he won't just leave you. What are you saying? Li Sen leaned closer, her whisper barely audible. He'll devour you. Then she was gone. Vera stood frozen. What you truly are. The other thing. There's something else. Something father kept from me. Across the hall, Kelrick's pale eyes found her through the crowd. She had secrets. He had secrets. Her father had secrets upon secrets. The question was, which truth would destroy them first? The bonding ceremony required a physical element. Not the full claiming, Kelrick had made that clear, but something to satisfy ancient laws, a sharing of blood, a mingling of sense. It can be brief, he'd told her, a formality. But as Vera followed him to his chambers that night, she wondered if anything involving the beast could truly be called a formality. His rooms were dominated by a massive bed draped in white furs. The fire burned high, though he stood far from it, near the ice windows. There's something you should know, he said without turning. I require complete darkness, no light whatsoever. Why? Because when I lose control, my curse becomes visible. I would prefer you not see it. I understand, she said. He turned, surprise in his pale eyes. You're not going to ask? You haven't demanded I explain what I can't explain. I can offer you the same courtesy. The servants extinguished the fire and left. Darkness fell like a physical weight. Are you certain? His voice came from directly in front of her. This doesn't have to be more than a formality. Is that what you want? Silence stretched between them. What I want hasn't mattered in 300 years. His hands found her shoulders. Even through clothing, the cold seared her skin. Shocking, like plunging into a winter lake. You're so warm, he murmured with wonder. I'd forgotten what warmth felt like. His fingers traced downward, finding the clasps of her gown. He moved slowly, giving her every chance to stop him. When she didn't, the fabric whispered to the floor. His palms pressed against her bare stomach, and they both gasped. The contrast was overwhelming, his frozen skin against her heat. Rime spread from his fingers, tiny crystals forming only to melt immediately. Does the cold hurt? He asked roughly. No. Does my heat hurt you? It should. Heat has been agony for centuries, but you don't burn. You thaw. Vera reached for him, finding his bare chest. His skin was genuinely frozen, but where her palms pressed flat, something stirred. A flicker of warmth buried impossibly deep. I can feel it, she breathed. Underneath. Something that never quite went out. His breath caught. That's impossible. I know what I feel. His mouth found hers. The kiss was cold at first, but as it deepened, something changed. The ice began to melt. His lips warmed against hers. They found the bed, a tangle of cold limbs and heated skin. Every place they touched became a battleground, his frost spreading across her, her heat melting it away. When they came together, Vera cried out at the intensity. He was cold inside her, impossibly cold, but her body responded with heat that made them both shudder. Afterward, they lay tangled in furs. His arm draped across her waist, his chest pressed against her back. Stay, Vera whispered. His arm tightened. For a moment she thought he would refuse. Just until dawn. It was more than she'd expected. When she woke, gray light filtered through the drapes. The bed was empty. But his scent lingered, and Vera pressed her face into his pillow. He'd stayed. She wanted more. Dangerous thoughts. This was an arrangement, not a courtship. But as she rose, her body still tingling, Vera couldn't quite convince herself that was still true. The weeks that followed were unlike anything Vera had experienced. Kelric studied her power with methodical intensity, bringing texts about name speakers from his vast library. She could speak true names, but she couldn't command through them. Her power was illumination, not destruction. "Your father was wrong about you," Kelric said one evening. "Name speakers were never dangerous. They were hunted because they revealed truths people wanted buried." "Then why did that man die?" Vera asked quietly. "I only spoke his name." "What was he doing when you spoke it?" "Hurting a child. He had the boy by the throat." "And what did you feel?" "Rage. I wanted him to stop. I wanted justice." Name. Speakers don't just reveal truth. In moments of extreme emotion, they can bind truth to consequence. If that man's identity was built on violence, then speaking his name while wanting justice. He paused. His own truth destroyed him, not you. Relief washed through her. She'd carried the guilt for years. "Thank you," she breathed. That night, when he came to her chambers, there was new tenderness in his touch. He still required darkness, still left before dawn. But he stayed longer each time, revealed more of himself. She learned he'd been human once before a witch's curse transformed him. The rime spreading across his skin was the curse slowly consuming him over centuries. "You do something to me," he admitted one night. "When we're together, the cold retreats." "Then stay longer." "I can't." "Why?" "Because the longer I stay, the more I want. And wanting is dangerous for me." She didn't understand. Not then. But she started noticing things. The rhyme patterns grew more elaborate each week. Some evenings when he arrived, he couldn't speak until she held him for an hour, her warmth thawing his frozen throat. Other nights, she woke to find him shivering, cold coming from inside rather than out. "Something's wrong," she said one evening, finding him surrounded by half-frozen documents. "Kelric, please, you're getting worse." "It's always been this way." His lips were blue, skin translucent. 300 years, Vera. The curse has been killing me slowly. This is simply what the end looks like." Her heart stopped. "The end? I'm dying. The frost will eventually reach my heart, and then the beast of the north will finally trouble no one." "No." The word tore out of her. "There has to be something." "There's nothing." His hands tightened on hers. "I accepted my death centuries ago. I simply wanted to understand a mystery before the end." She couldn't speak. She'd known this was temporary, but she hadn't expected parting to mean watching him die. "If you want to leave before the end," he said quietly, "I'll arrange it." "Leave?" Vera stared at him. "You think I would leave?" She kissed him. Desperate, fierce, full of everything she'd been trying not to feel. "I'm not leaving," she said fiercely. "I care about you." Something shattered in his expression. "Vera, don't make me hope." "Then hope. Whatever time we have, I want to spend it with you, truly living." "You're going to destroy me," he whispered. "No," she thought. "I'm going to save you." But as she held him, Vera couldn't escape the terrible truth. She was falling in love with a monster, and he was falling apart. 2 months passed. 2 months of Kelric coming every night, staying longer each time. 2 months of laughter and tenderness. 2 months of watching the rime consume him inch by inch. It covered his entire torso now, creeping up his neck. His breath fogged even in heated rooms. Then, on a gray morning, she discovered she was pregnant. The healer confirmed it quietly. 2 months along. Vera sat alone afterward, one hand pressed to her stomach. A child. Their child. Kelric had never mentioned wanting children, had never discussed any future beyond the frost consuming him. But now there was a future, and she couldn't let him die. Their child deserved to know their father. She found him that evening, watching the storm. The rime had reached his jaw. I need to tell you something. He crossed to her, took her hands. His grip was weaker than a week ago. I'm pregnant. Silence. Then he dropped to his knees. His hands found her stomach, and when he looked up, his eyes were wet with wonder. A child, he breathed. Our child. I know it wasn't part of our arrangement. I want this more than I've wanted anything in 300 years. He pressed his forehead to her stomach. Someone you'll have after I'm... Don't. She pulled him up. We're going to find a way. You're going to watch this child grow. Vera, the curse. I love you, Kelric. The words exploded out. I love you, and I will tear this world apart before I let the frost take you. He stared at her. You love me? He repeated slowly. Yes, I've loved you since you removed my muzzle. Stop. His voice was strangled. If I let myself feel this, then feel it. You don't understand. The curse. The reason I'm dying, it's not just about cold. His hands shook, rhymes spreading rapidly. It's about... He stopped. His eyes went wide. Kelric? His hand flew to his chest. Beneath his shirt, rhymes spread faster than ever, racing across his skin. No, he gasped. Not yet. I didn't mean to... What's happening? Terror filled his eyes. I love you. That's the trigger. The curse ensures I can never... He convulsed. I wasn't supposed to fall in love, and I did. And now... The frost exploded across his chest. He collapsed. Kelric. Vera caught him. His eyes had gone white, filmed with ice. Rime raced up his throat, across his face, consuming even his pale hair. His lips moved. She leaned closer. The name, he whispered. My true name. That's the key. Speak it and... His chest stopped moving. She screamed. The beast of the north was dying. And she had killed him with love. The cold radiated from his body like death itself. Vera clutched Kelric's frozen form, tears crystallizing on his skin. Help! She screamed. Servants burst through the door, gasped, and fled to find healers. But Vera knew no ordinary healer could fix this. His last words echoed. The name. My true name. That's the key. Verathane? She whispered against his forehead. Come back to me. Nothing happened. It won't work like that. An old woman stood in the doorway, wrapped in heavy furs. Her face was weathered beyond age, her eyes sharp as broken glass. Who are you? Brenneth. I was the witch who served this territory before the curse fell. I've been waiting 300 years for someone like you. Someone like me? A name weaver. Brenneth knelt beside Kelric. Though you don't know that's what you are. Vera's blood ran cold. I'm a name speaker. That's what your father wanted you to believe. Name speakers reveal. Name weavers transform. They can unbind curses, rewrite a name's very essence. My mother was the most powerful name weaver born in 5 centuries. I taught her before she fled south. Grief softened the old witch's voice. She thought she could hide among ordinary wolves. But power like hers doesn't stay hidden. My father had her killed. Because he discovered what she truly was. More than that, he was paid. There are those who benefit from this curse continuing, who paid your father to ensure no name weaver ever came north. The implications crashed over Vera like an avalanche. Her father hadn't bound her power because she was dangerous. He'd bound it because she was the cure. How do I save him? Speak his true name again, but weave it. Reshape its binding to the curse. Brenneth studied her. But you can't. Your power is sealed. Then how do I break it? You need the object that holds it, something your father kept close. Vera looked at Kelric, frozen, dying, the rime reaching his hairline. How long does he have? Days, maybe less. Brenneth's voice was heavy. The curse feeds on his love. The stronger the feeling, the faster it consumes. Vera's heart shattered and reformed into something harder. Watch over him, keep him alive. Where are you going? To get the seal, to face my father. The journey south took 2 days of riding through blizzards, barely sleeping. The bond with Kelric grew fainter each hour, a thread stretched impossibly thin. But it was still there. He was still fighting. The Mordrin estate rose before her as the sun set. Vera strode toward the entrance, flanked by 2 of Kelric's guards. She found Lord Mordrin in his study, wine in hand. Daughter, I didn't expect you to survive this long. Where is the seal? What seal? Don't. The object you used to bind my power. I need it. Mordrin laughed coldly. So you finally learned what you are. You killed my mother. I had her killed. There's a difference. She was becoming difficult, threatening to take you away, train you properly. His lip curled. I couldn't allow that. Because someone paid you. Fear flickered in his eyes. Who told you that? It doesn't matter. Give me the seal. And then what? You'll have me arrested? The beast of the north is dying. Vera's voice was steady. Your conspirator's plan is working. But I'm carrying his child. If Kelric dies, I become regent. I inherit his armies. She smiled sharply. The first thing I'll do is investigate everyone who had dealings with you, and when I find who's behind this curse, I will burn their houses to the ground. But if you give me the seal now, I might show mercy. Silence. A new voice spoke from the doorway. He won't tell you anything useful. Lysen stepped inside. But I know where the seal is. Lysen. Mordrin's voice was a warning. I've been watching you, father. The letters you send, the visitors who come at night. Lysen's voice shook. You killed our mother. You tried to kill our sister. For what? Gold? She pointed at the portrait of their grandfather. The seal is in the vault behind that. Vera moved toward it and pulled the portrait aside. A small safe sat embedded in the wall. Open it. Mordrin threw her the key, hatred in his eyes. You'll regret this. The people I work for don't forgive betrayal. Inside the safe was a small carved box. When Vera lifted the lid, she felt a pull, a connection, like finding a missing piece of herself. The seal was a stone disc inscribed with writhing runes. Send for the authorities, Vera told the guards. Lord Mordrin will be charged with conspiracy, murder, and treason. Treason? Mordrin laughed. I'm not the beast's subject. You are now. The moment you sold your daughter to Thiervald, you became part of the Northern Kingdom. She turned to Lysen. Thank you. I'm sorry, Lysen whispered, for everything. We'll talk later. Vera mounted her horse and rode north, the seal burning against her palm like a promise. She just had to reach him in time. She rode through the night, stopping only when her horse threatened to collapse. The bond with Kelric was barely a whisper now, but it was still there. When the fortress came into view, she abandoned her horse and ran. Brenneth met her outside Kelric's chambers. You're almost too late. His heart is barely beating. Vera pushed inside. Kelric lay encased in ice, a statue of winter. Beautiful, terrible, utterly still. Tell me what to do. Break the seal first. Vera looked at the stone disc. The runes pulsed with malevolent energy. She thought of her mother, killed for being powerful. The years she'd spent muzzled, silenced. Then she thought of Kelric. His cold hands and warm heart, the way he'd told her she could speak. She closed her fist and pulled. The pain was immense, like tearing away part of her soul. But she pulled harder, and with a sound like shattering glass, the seal broke. Power flooded through her. She could feel names everywhere, not just see them but sense their shapes, their colors. The universe was made of names. Now, Brenneth urged, speak his true name, but weave it, find the threads of the curse and cut them. Vera climbed onto the bed and placed her hands on his chest. She closed her eyes. In her mind, his name burned cold and blue, wrapped in chains of ancient magic. She reached for those chains. They fought back, tried to freeze her out, but she was fire. Verathine. Her voice resonated with power. I see you, not the beast they made you. The man beneath, the warmth buried under centuries of ice. The chains shuddered. I weave you free. I unbind you from this curse. I reshape your name from a prison into a door. Not Caelric, the beast. Not Varathane, the frozen king. Just you, the man I love. Mine. The chains shattered. Light exploded, warm, golden, impossibly bright. The ice cracked, melted, evaporated. Then he gasped. His eyes flew open, not white anymore, but clear gray, like storm clouds breaking to reveal sun. Vera, he breathed. She collapsed against his chest, sobbing. His arms came around her, and they were warm. You did it, Brenneth said, tears tracking down her face. The curse is broken. Not just from him, but his entire line. Your child will be born free. Kelric's hand found Vera's stomach. Our child will be free. He kissed her then, deep, desperate, full of everything he'd been unable to say when love meant death. 6 months later, Vera stood in the great hall, her daughter cradled in her arms. The curse was truly broken. Warmth had returned to the northern territory. Kelric crossed to her, his footsteps no longer leaving frost prints. She spoke her first word today, Vera said. Already? She's a Nameweaver's daughter. Words come early. What did she say? Vera looked at him. This man who had chosen her when no one else would, who had removed her muzzle and given her voice. Papa. His eyes went bright with tears. He pulled them both close, his wife and his daughter, holding them against a heart that had been frozen for centuries, finally thawed. The beast of the north, Vera murmured, bowed to no Alpha King. He pressed a kiss to her hair. Until you spoke my true name, and set us both free.